Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the official start of the third week on the Enterprise D build. I say the official start because I've been working on this all weekend, and I'll cut that footage in after this intro. But I got lots of good things to report. If you'll remember, at the end of last week, I was hoping to show you something flashy and good. That didn't happen, but only because I ran out of time. I had an idea for how to mount the LED strip for the phaser effect, the addressable LED strip, and the method I was using, no bueno. I did work out that method over the weekend, and that's what I'll be showing you. But I thought maybe it would be handy to give a little bit of background, not to get too scholarly on this, but to give you a little bit of background about the thinking process and how we got to here so far. So join me down on a table. I'm going to walk you through the crude attempt with pencil and paper to explain what it is I've been doing. Okay, let's start again. In the beginning, Helios provided us with individual addressable LEDs, and they were on a wafer like this, and we had to break them apart. Now, you were required, to solder these together. And what you would do is if you'll remember, the hull used to look like this before I cut the spacing out between the holes. They used to have individual holes in the hull. And what you were required to do was to lay a addressable LED over top of each one of those, and not only get them in the right orientation so that the arrows were all pointing the same direction, but then you were required, let me see, I'll go ahead and finish up like this. Then you were required to solder those together, running tiny strips of solder. Can you imagine how long that would have taken to solder? Not to mention the burnt fingers, cursing, swearing, and all of the above it would have taken to solder all of those together. It was madness. It was madness that they expected us to do that. But it did one thing that not only did I approve of, but I was the champion for. It puts the lotion on the skin. Actually, no, it puts the LED flat down on the hull of the ship, which gives you the best dispersion of light going through the hull and out. That's how lighting works. You put it flat up against the hull. Now, Phil, and wisely, everybody looked at that and went, don't want to do that. Andrew and Phil and I all kind of looked at this and said, that's a lot of work, and we don't know, not that we're afraid of a lot of work, but we don't know that that's the best way to do it. So if that is your hull, and you don't want to do that, well, what's your next option is light strip. You've all seen light strip. You know what it looks like. It looks like this. It's a strip of light. Now, the thing about that is light strip has tremendous benefits, but it has one glaring flaw. You cannot do this with it. You can't bend it this way around. You can wrap it around this way. You can wrap it around that way, but you can't bend it, laterally. You can't bend it that way. So that doesn't make any sense that doesn't help us, because the way the phaser strip is laid out on the saucer, it's a big circle. Now, people out there are going to say, Lou, there are cob lights. Yes, there are. There are cob lights that are beautiful and wonderful. There are noodle lights that can bend every which way. Yes, there are. They have not yet, that I'm aware of, invented the addressable LED cob light. And cob lights have millions. No, they have hundreds of tiny LEDs in the same amount of space as one, as maybe an inch. There's a ton of them in there. I can get you one out and show you. This is a cob light here, and it is packed. It's packed with little LEDs all the way through. They're up and down. And there's no way I know of to individually address each one of those to make an effect. Now, we may get there someday. We are not there. Today is not that day. So, the only other alternative is to use this strip lighting, the strip LED, or the strip addressable, and wrap it around a trench. Now, again, I'm going to show you a cutaway version of a saucer. Say, here is the arc of the saucer. That's the underside. Let's just say that's where it flattens back out. There are two banks of windows here. This is where the phaser strip is. This is where the captain's yacht is. Let's just say that's the bottom of the saucer. Right here is where you want your addressable lighting. The only way to do that, and this is what Phil has done, and I believe this is what Andrew has done, although I'm not as up to speed with what he's done on his, is to make a three-sided box. You make a three-sided box that looks like this, and you make it out of sheet styrene, or you make it out of foam core, you make it out of something. You make it like that. Now, make sure that's on camera. This is a side view of the three-sided box. Now, you can't put your LEDs on the top of it because that's the same arc as everything else. What you're going to do is you're going to put one of either you pick the inside or the outside. You put your LED strip on that, and then it fills this whole trench with light, and it shines down indirectly through the phaser strip, and that's how that works. Which is fine. That way you're wrapping your LED strip along the inside of that trench, and it's well, let's see if I draw a small one here. This is the phaser strip. You have a U-shaped arrangement that looks like a U from the side, but it has the top profile of your phaser strip. Great. You have your wires coming out the side. That lights up, and basically it shines to the inside of that and gives you your effect. So that's the most prevalent solution. Now, I will tell you that Phil and I are both using the Helios lighting kit. Andrew is not. He has come up with his own lighting arrangement for that. So the rules of what Andrew's doing are completely out. I'm not going to say out the window, but I don't know what they are. They're not relevant to this particular build using the Helios lighting. And we'll go with that. Now, compounding that, the Helios lighting, the addressable LED strip asks for a specific number of bulbs. It asks for a specific number of bulbs to be addressed. That's the programming that they've used. I cannot get in and change that programming. I don't know. It's not Arduino. Wayne has told me that he believes it was a Strawberry Pi board, and that's a different language than programming Arduino. I don't believe the Germans over at Helios, because they're Germans, but it's a German company. I don't believe they're going to hand me their code so that I can go in and change something. So I am stuck with the code that they are using. The number of LEDs that Helios programming is expecting to see on the top is expecting to see 75. On the bottom is expecting to see 87. Don't ask me why. I didn't come up with those numbers. That's what Helios is expecting, or that's what their lighting kit is expecting. When you hit the button, the programming goes out to one of these addressable LED strips and says, okay, 75 LEDs. I need to see the first one and the last one, and then we're going to join them together at various spots, and then we're going to make the phaser effect. That's how that works. So I needed to get 75 LEDs into the space of that trench. Now, if I were to take this piece of strip tape, and I was just going to wrap it around like Phil has done, it's way too long. It's way too long to fill that space to get 75. If I, cut 75 LEDs off of a strip like this and put it in the saucer, I would end up wrapping it around, which is not good anyway, because it needs to have this end be at one end of the phaser strip. It needs to have this end be at the other end of the phaser strip. So the only way I could think to do that was to fold the tape. If I folded the tape, and I realized I could fold it like this is a little sample segment, that if I folded it like this and brought the LEDs closer together, then I could get 75 LEDs in that space. I could get 75 LEDs by jamming them closer together like that. No soldering needed. Take the LED tape as it is. Now, a funny thing happens. A funny thing happens when you do that. Now, when you do this, all of a sudden, you can do that. You can bend it the way you want. It will bend around, laterally, because I have taken the slack out. This, or I've added slack to it. This won't bend laterally. This will bend laterally, as long as I don't go nuts with it. So that all of a sudden got me back to square one, where I could say, I don't need to build that trench anymore, because now if that's my arc, I could glue these down and bend my strip to fit that arc, just like that. And that's where we left it on Friday. I was having trouble finding the best way to attach this to the hull of the ship, where the resin channel that I had cut out and filled back in with the fun recall, the putty. I filled those back in, but then when I tried to, I was like, obvious thing to do would be to try to hot glue or to CA the bulbs in place. Well, when I did that, it created a horrible mess, and putting the CA right on the bulbs and then sticking it down there was not the answer that I was hoping for. It was interfering with the electronics and basically making things no bueno. So I had to come up with a way to attach this now bent up string of LED tape to the hull in such a way that it never really touches this. So that's where I was pondering as we left our hero. What I came up with was went to Lowe's, went to the Home Depot place, the big box hardware store, see what they had and what I could use. And what I came back with was cable staples. Cable staples were the solution. This is a cable staple. Now, I had looked at a couple of other makes, models, varieties. My first thought went to coax staples. I've seen these before. I've used these before to keep your wiring in place. And I will I will end up using these to keep my wire tidy done now that I know that this principle works. So I took the staples, bought a couple different ones. These are meant to go in a staple gun. These are meant to go in a stapling machine, which makes them perfect because they are extra skinny. Now, you take a look at this, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw away the staple. Take the staple part out. Don't need that. That goes in the trash. This is the part I want. Because now I can take this part and put it down over top of the over top of the string of lights. The lights don't touch it. I still have the folds in the lights, but this doesn't touch it. So it's free to move underneath it. But it's, it's relatively trapped. I did find that these were a little too tall. So the first thing I did was take the chisel blade. I tell you, this chisel blade knife, these chisel blades, these are the MVP of this build so far. Between putting the putty in, or the light curing putty in the windows with it, and doing this cut, this is my MVP tool. So I just knocked off the legs of that a little bit, shortened it up just a little bit. Take a sanding block. I have one here that's really rough, just to sand those off square and flush. And now I needed to attach that to the hull from the inside, just like that. And you know what? CA doesn't work. Again, back to the CA, that was my first thought, would be, something like a hot glue or a CA. Hot glue takes too long to set up. It's too messy. You get strings all over everywhere. So I was down to CA. Well, this doesn't stick. CA doesn't stick to this. I don't know what kind of plastic it is. CA don't like it. But you know what does like it? UV resin. The old Solarez. Pull it back off the shelf. Couple of dabs of Solarez on either leg here. Hold it down like that. Hit it with the flashlight, the UV torch, about 10 seconds. Lift it back up and it's stuck down. And I just have to repeat that 75 times for the top, 87 times for the bottom. But it worked. And I slapped myself on the back, congratulated myself for solving that particular puzzle, and let me show you the results. All right, I've got the saucer turned upside down. I've got the, right side up actually. I've got everything hooked up for the bottom. This is for the bottom phaser strip. Now I don't have the speaker hooked up, so I can talk over it, so you can hear me while I'm just explaining this. You don't hear that phaser sound in the background. But if I hit the go button, there you go. We've got I'm gonna maybe move the light off of it. Been having problems with this lamp, so I'm not gonna turn it off, but let me turn it to the side. There you go. Okay, so here we go again. Beauty. Seems to like that corner for some reason. It's supposed to be random. There we go. It's all the way back to here this time. But that's lovely. Now I'll turn it over and show you the industrial part of this. Okay, there's the beauty side of it. Well, no, that's not the beauty side. The industry part of it. I think it's the beautiful side because I think this is a wonderfully elegant solution. What you have are, a bunch of these standing up, the staple covers standing up, and they are individually glued down. The strip inside is not really glued to the ship at all. We have two spots here that correspond with the, they don't quite correspond with the, well, they do on the top. With the standoffs that I left, this is where the strip, the addressable LED strip. You know, sometimes if you get a long roll, they've put a joint in it where they've added two chunks together. These were places where it was already soldered, and I couldn't bend it. That's the only reason. I couldn't make that accordion fold in it the way I wanted to, so I just left those flat. But that's all of them. And what that does, it also gives me a very stable foundation to come in here and make my channel, because I can just glue up against the side of that, and I can put in my strip styrene and isolate that lighting. But it gives me all of these standoffs. Plus, it gives me a nice flat top for the top piece too. It's going to help a myriad of ways. It's going to help, but I didn't have to build that three-sided channel that you would have to build in these circumstances. So what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to go get the top, because the top was also finished this weekend. Saturday I did the top. Yesterday I did half of the back, and today I finished up the other half of the bottom. But these are both done, and we're able to hit the ground running with putting the rest of the tiny LEDs in this week. So let me go get the top and we'll see how it looks together. And here is the top of the saucer attached at the same time, and there you go. And there you go. And there you go, without the sound. So yeah, a very, very successful weekend. And now we can get on to this week's work. Righty, I'm just wrapping up the day working on a piece that is not the saucer for the first time in I don't know how long. I buried the lights. I decided to, instead of try to doing top and bottom lights here, just to put two along the trailing edge there. That's kind of what the latest intel says, that there is just one set of light right along this edge that kind of shined out top and bottom. So we've got that, and then I've got the phaser strips. Now it would have helped tremendously, and if anybody out there from Helios is watching, would have helped tremendously to have some sort of little indent or something in the file here to show you where these were supposed to go. So as it was, I blew up the picture that I had gotten from Rick, and I traced over the areas where those were in that illustration, and I have set the phaser strips back on top. And we've got another storm warning. Isn't life fun? Righty, it's Tuesday. I don't know if I've said that yet or not, but it still is. It's Tuesday, and work is continuing on drilling holes and making room for lighting. Starting to go through the diagram that Rick provided and put in the additional holes for where lights need to go. These are non-blinking formation lights. Now, I'm taking a break because I've also got a order plotting in the background. That's why I've waited so long in the day to do this. I've started also to put in things like, and we'll show it off. There is the impulse engine in the neck. That's ready to go. It looks a bit sourcey, I know, but I like it. I like seeing the three bulbs there. I've packed that full of fiber fill, but still you see the source, because the lights are so close to that, you can't really get far enough away to do a lot of diffusing. Also, I've drilled out for the torpedo that goes there. I don't know whether that's going to be a bulb or a fiber optic at this point. I have started working preliminary on the nacelles as far as drilling the holes that they need to get. This is a formation light hole here that goes in front of the rear torpedo. That rear torpedo that housing needs to be recreated, because the part that was provided, simply no bueno. So what we're going to have to do with that is also a subject for another day. I'm looking at this strip of windows here along the edge. We're not going to be able to do the lighting, or there's supposed to be a set of windows along the edge of this that mimic the windows that go along the rim of the saucer, but because these are already cut in and I've already filled them, I'm not going to be able to provide those. So I think what I'm trying to do ultimately is to get all the holes in all of these parts that I need to add, get all these holes drilled in so that I can put window masks down and start doing primer coats of paint, because I don't want to do that while I'm still drilling holes or still adding parts, such as adding the phaser strips that have been glued on there. It's tough to see them in this lighting, but they're there. There's one. But that's kind of, I'm rushing through it because that's kind of what I'm doing. Just adding these little bits here and there. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend. And yesterday I had one of those days. I'm sure you've had them too. I was bouncing around on so many little things on this kit that is such a huge amount of real estate it takes up, but so much huge things to be done with it that I don't really feel like I got any one thing done. You know how that is? So what I've decided to do today is to sit down and concentrate on just one aspect of the whole thing and try to get as much of that done as I can, and not bounce around to work on the nacelles or work on the secondary hull or work on the upper saucer or the lower saucer, or am I going to work on lighting? Am I going to work on wiring? It gets too much. Am I working on the paint? Blah, blah, blah. So I want to concentrate my efforts today in getting the marker lights and the strip lights down. Now, part of what I did get done, if I can find them in all of this mess, which is another reason for cleaning, part of what I did get done was I nibbled out these channels here, and you can see them there and there. And I nibbled those channels out for the lighthouse or tower LEDs. And these are tough to find in any color other than clear. You can order them red and green, but I decided not to use them for the side markers. I've got some chip-sized LEDs that I can use for those. But these I have nibbled out around them so that I could stick them down in the hole like that, and they'll come up. They protrude enough from the top or onto the top side that I can cut them or leave them raw and then just sand them down when I'm done. Sort of like a fiber optic. Think of these as LEDs with fiber optics built into them. So I'm using those for most notably the running lights in the front, and I'm also using them on the top and bottom of the nacelle. The rear of the nacelle has a white marker light, and that's why I was talking about running back and forth and getting a bunch of stuff done without getting anything done. So I'm going to I'm going to leave the nacelles alone today, and I'm going to concentrate on just the saucer and getting the lights in, and maybe getting the strip LEDs in the bottom half of the saucer, so we can put that to the side. But let me do a little bit more cleanup here on the table, and then we'll get into it. Okay, Operation Narrow Focus has gotten its first victory. I have now the chip and nano-sized LEDs that I'm using all around, and I decided to use them rather than use the lamp house LEDs, for the very good reason that I need the real estate. I may be able to use those ones in the back in the nacelles where there's nothing else competing for room, but as you can see, well, maybe you can't. I will zoom in on there. That's an LED sitting down in that channel. I'm using the reflective tape to kind of chase and train the wiring, and what I'm going to do after that has had a little bit more chance to cure is I'm going to coat it with tulip like I did there to block the light all around it, and that's going to help contain the lighting a bit. I've got some tape stuck to the outside. I put a little drop of the solar res in there, put the bulb over top of it, and hit it quickly with the UV, and hopefully, well, I know it's going to hold it in place, but hopefully what it'll do also is create the light channel, and I can put a small circle mask over top of the light from the top side, or if I need to, I can slightly drill that out and put a tiny bit of fiber optic there. The next job on this whole thing is to do what I've started here, and that is to take more of the reflective tape, and I'm just taping off the top of this channel, and that is going to light block effectively. That's going to keep me from having any of this phaser light spill into the window lighting, or, you know, subsequently having any of the window lighting spill into the phaser strip, because the phaser strip is not, I mean, it's going to be very lightly painted. It's not going to be light blocked itself. So when I turn the windows on, I don't want the phaser strip lighting up. That's why I'm also isolating this. Alrighty, I think I'm ready to put the top of the saucer to the side and start working on the lower saucer. I've got this all taped off now with the aluminum tape. Got all of these marker bulbs in. Got the strobe bulb in. Now the strobe bulb, I went with a cool white, where I purposefully went with warm whites for the markers. And the reason I did that is to kind of give me some little bit of a different flavor. All of the windows that you see lit up are going to be done with cool whites. So I wanted to have just that little differentiation of the warm whites and the markers. So, like I said, we're ready to set this to the side, grab the secondary hull, because what we're going to do is we're going to start laying down all of the strip lighting. We're going to do the perimeter lights like we did here, the marker lights, but then we're going to take that big flat area and start putting all of the lights, because what's going to happen is they're going to be shining up, which is going to in turn light all of these. I still would like to go through at some point. I'm going to start thinking about which windows are going to be blacked out so that we don't have lights shining up through every stinking hole, because no one wants to see all of the lights lit up. It looks ridiculous that way. But you need to make them completely black to look intentionally turned off. You don't want to have just a weak light in there. So what I'm going to do is, from the inside, I'm going to take some of the famous tulip here and just fill in some windows from the inside, so that from the outside they all look alike. I don't want the windows to look like a checkerboard here. See, I got some paint on the outside of that. You can't see that, it's off camera. But what I want to do is I want all of these windows to have the same appearance from the outside. And plus they're all nice and flush. I don't want to put any paint over top of those. I'm going to start masking these, and that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, is masking these lights, or masking these windows. And trust me, you don't need to see me do that again. Alrighty, I'm getting ready to start putting down the strip LED lights under the secondary hull, and these are the ones that are going to light up upwards to the windows on the top of the hull. Now, I've looked at the master plans from Helios, and they say, they're calling it the disc and not the saucer, 38 times 15 LED segments. So I've cut 38, and it took up a whole roll, the roll that they sent with a couple of links left over. But basically you cut that whole roll into these length of segments, and then you scatter them around. Now this is for the entire saucer, so I have to hold some back for what's going to go on the top saucer that's going to shine down and light this way. I have to light these windows from the top. I think Phil may have wrapped his that way to light these windows, but I'm going to be doing it from that way to light those down. or to downlight those, and then lighting these. So we'll save a handful of those out, maybe 8 of those, and then that'll leave us 30 to scatter this way. We'll see if we need all 30. I probably won't, and I may end up cutting those into shorter lengths, because something like that looks, oh, well, get it in camera, Lou. Something like that looks nice, but I might want to have it follow the contour and cut it into smaller segments. So we're going to see how that goes. They got the peel and stick on the back of them. I don't always trust that, so I'll probably will also be augmenting that with either CA or hot glue to hold those down. But I need to, before I start any of this, I need to heat up the soldering iron and get it done, because I need to get all of these edges tinned and ready to accept wiring, which I'm going to be using this twisted Evans Design lighting, Evans Design wiring for it. That's what I'm going to be doing to run between the different segments. So let me clean everything off that isn't this exact task, and we'll come back to it. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. It's the last work day of this week. Probably be working on this through the weekend, though. I did not get this accomplished yesterday like I had hoped, because other things took precedent. But we are going to do the main saucer lighting, the strip lighting. We're going to get all this down. We're going to get it tested. We're going to put the top saucer on. We're going to see how well the windows are illuminated, and then that'll help us determine whether we need to add anything to what is here, or in fact subtract anything if it's too much. And then if that goes well, we will work on getting some of the other lighting in the top. See, all of this lighting functions to light the top of the saucer. All of this is uplighting. Now there's going to be some spill here. There's going to be some general lighting that's going to help with these lower windows. But we're going to see how much that, we're going to close it up, see how much that helps, and if how much we need to add to light these lower windows. And that's going to be the crux. I want to keep on this piece of the saucer today, and stop jumping around to other parts of the kit and concentrate on just one piece. So the first thing we need to do, yesterday I took all of these pieces and I cut them to the length that they recommended, and I tinned all of the ends on both sides. All of the ends. I went ahead and tinned those, got those ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them down, and then we're just going to go from strip to strip to strip with the wiring as acting as a jumper cable. And we're just going to jump from strip to strip and make one big chain out of this and light it up and see how she looks. Okay, so I've got everything stuck down. This is the pattern that I've chose for the strip lighting, for the uplighting on the top of the saucer that's going into the bottom of the saucer. You know. These are stuck down. Now I'm not only going to be depending on the adhesive on the back of this strip lighting, because it can be iffy at best. I will be reinforcing that with hot glue, but I'm not going to do it just quite yet. Just on the off chance I may have to do any editing or adding or moving anything around, I don't want to, put it in concrete quite yet. So now I'm going through and I'm making up a bunch of these, which are just about an inch and a quarter, inch and a half jumpers, and these are going to go between the various strips. I need to make sure that my longest ones aren't, or the longest gaps, I have longer spacing for these, but I'm just making up a bunch of these with the twisted wire, and I'll just go around and touch solder them in place. Okay, I have to shoot from way back here because I don't dare get any closer. It's too bright. This is the string of lights for the saucer that is hooked up to the board, so it's getting the voltage that it's going to be getting when it's hooked up to the board. I didn't want to test it on anything less than that. It's quite brilliant. Yes, the the camera does have a tendency to blow things up, brightness. They wash out. So I'm going to go ahead and put the saucer down on top of that, so you can see how effective it is at transferring the light. Okay, that's a little bit easier to see. It is very, very effective. That amount of lighting, which isn't even probably half of what I could have used. This is all of the bits that I haven't used yet. So there's equally that much left that I haven't used. But that gives me all of my lighting for the top perimeter. Now, not all the lights are hitting the same. This is a piece of an underneath where the light block has come off the black paint. So I circled that so that I could touch that up from the inside. But there are windows here that are not as bright as the others, and that is because that's where the joint is between two strips. I'm just going to black those windows out. I'm just going to paint, because not all the windows are going to be lit all the time. It was very important to me to have these windows light up. But these ones here, I could just paint them black. They're not all going to be lit, and I don't have to fill it in. I was thinking I might have to go in, between the joints and fill in with a little bit of the, like a 1-inch piece just to fit in there. I don't need to. I don't think so. These ones are going to be lit from a different method. Once I start putting the framework in and get this on, I'm going to make another platform on top of the frame, and that's where that lighting is going to sit. So don't worry about any of these. My only goal was to get the outer ring taken care of. And oddly enough, I'm going to scroll underneath here. It actually does a fairly decent job at some of these windows that are facing downward. I'm not going to have to use as many lights there to augment that. But again, yes, we're going to take care of all this. And since it's only lunchtime now, I might even have time to start addressing some of that today. But my goal was to get this much done, and I think we've achieved that. Okay, this is as far as I got with the roof today. I didn't get this finished. It took a little longer than I was planning. So we'll carry it on into next week. But this is going to go upside down from here. It's going to fit on the bottom saucer and light the bottom saucer lights. So we'll pick this up next week, and we'll go from there. And that's where we're going to end it for this week. I'll go ahead and turn these lights off. Man, the sun has finally come back. It's been a week of rain, so glad to see that. But that's where we're going to finish the Enterprise for this week. Got a lot done, and I'll continue at this pace. I'm going to be working through the weekend. I think my goal for this weekend is to maybe get the saucer windows masked off so that we can start with some paint next week on some primer paint at least. So until then, yeah, I'll be working on this again. I'm not going to be taking a break from it for a while. I see what Phil's got done on his. The base came along beautifully. Check his videos out if you haven't already. He's doing marvelous work on his Enterprise D, and I hope to be catching up soon. So until next week, y'all be good. Be good to each other. Be safe. Be smart, the usual. And be back next week when we will be... I think we'll be working on the cells next week. I think that's what we're going to go next. I have a base being built, same base as Phil's. No surprise there, since I helped consult on its design. That's at least a week away before I can get that, so there's going to be no rush on getting anything ready to go on a stand. So the next thing I can do is to continue to work on the Aztecs in the background. I've got the decals done. I've sent the artwork off to Keith. It's in his trusty hands now. Let's see what else is going on. Working on the Aztecs for the nacelles right now, and I think that's we're going to start doing something with colorful lighting next week.